there's a lot of interesting questions here. Some law enforcement, maybe this is a little more interesting to you, some law enforcement have gone to the internet service provider. The person, if you get your internet service from, what is the internet service provider here in Thailand, a good one? IFP? Drew, IFP. So if I went to Drew IFP, the internet service provider, and said, I am federal law enforcement and I would like very much if you would watch this person's email and let me know if you ever see him planning to deliver narcotics or talk about narcotics. Well, if I went as a law enforcement officer to that internet service provider and told them to do that, they are now acting on behalf of law enforcement, which means even though he works at the internet service provider and he's legally, because he works there, he can see this person's email account and he's doing nothing wrong. If I, as law enforcement, told him to do that, it's as if he was law enforcement or acting under the direction of law enforcement, and therefore that's criminal. I've asked him to do something wrong. I cannot, if he gives me that information now, because I've asked him to look at this person and watch this person for criminal activity, I can now no longer use that information. But, and Monica, of course, I ask if I make some mistake here legally, you need to jump in and tell me. Right? But if this person at the internet service provider, on their own, without asking law enforcement, is monitoring the network because that's part of their job, and they see something that's criminal, they saw it as a part of their authorized duties to be there, and if they recognize it on their own as this is bad, this is terrorist activity or criminal activity, I should tell someone in law enforcement, and they come on their own to law enforcement and say, hey, I saw this. Now, law enforcement can use that because they did not tell him, hey, I want you to watch this person. So there's a very interesting thing that's going on here, is some law enforcement will go and say, who is the best person that I could be friends with to get the best information? And so they want to go to the internet service provider, the person that is legally authorized to see all this information. They want to buy them lunch, and they want to maybe, give them gifts and say, oh, we're friends, so yes, make sure you tell me anything. You know this guy? He looks like a criminal. Huh. Let me know if you ever see anything. So they haven't told him directly to look at him, but you see how they've gone around. It's very careful. If the judge finds out something like that has happened, first, that information that he provided cannot be used in court. And if he does use that, let's say he comes to the judge and says, I have information that says that this criminal activity is going to happen and I want to get a search warrant or I want something else. And you find out about it later that the way that he knew that that criminal activity was going to happen was because he had done something inappropriate, he loses all of that evidence in court. It cannot even be used in court because, again, that's called the fruit of the poisonous tree. Anything that you get after taking a bite of that fruit of the poisonous tree down that path that you would not have gotten if you would have not used that fruit is excluded.
Let me stop you there, Ovi. Let's emphasize on this fruit of the poisonous tree. ไอ้คำว่าผลไม้จากต้นไม้ที่เป็นพิษเนี่ยนะครับบังเอิญเป็นหลักกฎหมายพยานหลักฐานอเมริกันที่ทำให้เกิดได้รับการรู้จักกันมากที่สุดโดยพันตำรวจโทคนหนึ่งซึ่งใช้สำนักงานกฎหมาย อัมสเตอร์ดัมและเพื่อนเนี่ยนะผมว่าเราลองมาดูหลักกฎหมาย Fruit of the Poisonous Tree กันดีกว่าท่านอาจารย์พรเพชรและคณะเนี่ยแก้วิอาญาพยานหลักฐานเนี่ยไอ้ Fruit of the Poisonous Tree ของไทยตอนเนี้ยกลับไปใช้หลักของศาลฎีกาเดิมอะคือดูว่าไอ้ความไม่เป็นธรรมหรือการละเมิดต่อกระบวนการยุติธรรมมันมีความร้ายแรงขนาดที่จะทำกับชั่งน้ำหนักกับไอ้ประโยชน์ที่ได้จากพยานหลักฐานนั้นเนี่ยซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยเดี๋ยวอาจารย์พรเพชรท่านอธิบายนิดหนึ่งนะฮะแล้วก็เพื่อที่จะให้ถ่วงดุลกับกฎหมายอเมริกันเรามีนักกฎหมายอเมริกันที่ถือว่ามีความรู้ดีที่สุดในเรื่องนี้อยู่คนหนึ่งเนี่ยนะครับคือมอนิก้า I will get to you later on after Professor Pornpet Justice Pornpet has explained about fruit of the poisonous tree under Thai law and more particularly the exception to it and then you will prescribe the American law on this มอนิก้านี่ก็แนะนำนิดนึงนะครับเป็นที่ปรึกษากฎหมายที่สถานทูตอเมริกันเคยเป็นพนักงานอัยการอยู่ที่นครชิคาโกแล้วก็จบกฎหมายจาก Harvard Law School ครับโรงเรียนเดียวกับอาจารย์พรเพชรเชิญอาจารย์พรเพชรก่อน
ครับก็เป็นอย่างที่อาจารย์วิชัยว่านะครับคืออิทธิพลของทฤษฎีกฎหมายเรื่องผลไม้ของต้นไม้ที่เป็นพิษเนี่ยก็ได้รับอิทธิพลมาและมีการแก้ไขกฎหมายครั้งล่าสุดนะครับนั่นก็คือการแก้ไขปวิทยาจะพูดว่าเพิ่มเติมปวิทยามาตรา226/1นะครับ226/1ก็เป็นแบบที่คุณแคโรลได้อธิบายทุกอย่างนะครับเมื่อกี้เนี่ยว่าถ้าทำเช่นนั้นเนี่ยมันจะเป็นผลไม้ของต้นไม้ที่เป็นพิษแต่ว่า226/1เนี่ยไม่ใช่บทตัดพยานโดยเด็ดขาดเพราะว่าให้เป็นดุลพินิจของศาลนะฮะดุลพินิจของศาลเนี่ยที่จะรับหรือไม่รับก็ได้นะครับเป็นพยานหลักฐานเนี่ยซึ่งอาจารย์วิชัยก็ว่าไว้แล้วว่าต้องเป็นการชั่งน้ำหนักระหว่างที่เราเรียกว่า due process of law นะครับกับ crime control ว่าศาลเห็นสิ่งใดสำคัญกว่าพยานหลักฐานนั้นเนี่ยจะเป็นยังไงก็ต้องรอดูแนวคำพิพากษาศาลฎีกาครับเพราะว่าคงเกิดขึ้นแน่อย่างที่ผมเรียนแล้วว่าเจ้าพนักงานของเราเนี่ยไม่ค่อยได้ปฏิบัติตามวิธีการที่กฎหมายกำหนดเช่นพรบคอมพิวเตอร์เนี่ยผมไม่ได้พาดพิงถึงพันตำรวจเอกยานพลนะครับแต่ว่าไม่ได้ปฏิบัติตามแต่ปฏิบัติไม่ถูกต้องตามวิธีการที่กฎหมายกำหนดก็จะส่งผลให้พยานหลักฐานที่ได้มานั้นเนี่ยเป็นเข้ามาตรา226/1ซึ่งอยู่ในดุลพินิจของศาลนะครับอันนี้ก็เดี๋ยวคุณโมนิก้านี่ก็คงจะอธิบายทฤษฎีของสหรัฐอเมริกาในเรื่อง admissibility of evidence illegally obtained evidence นะ fruits of the poisonous tree
อาจารย์พรเพชรกรุณาอธิบายเป็นภาษาอังกฤษสั้นๆให้โมนิก้าเข้าใจได้ไหมครับ
I think Monica has already
โมนิก้าเขาจะผ่านพยานบอกเล่าอะฮะเพราะฉะนั้น
no not hearsay evidence about illegally obtained evidence you know
พยานบอกเล่าจากนู่นนะจากคนแปล
oh I see so Monica you understand what I said
yes
okay thank you
well good morning it's nice for me to have the opportunity to speak to you all as well translators can you hear me okay my name is Monica Bickert and as Judge Vichai said I am a legal advisor at the U.S. Embassy here and I'm also a criminal prosecutor from our federal prosecution service in Chicago, Illinois. And now as a federal prosecutor, this is an issue that we encounter often as we're preparing for trial. It is a common defense. Defendants in the federal system will almost always try and say that we acquired the evidence illegally and that there is either a direct illegal search or that the search resulted from evidence in the affidavit that was obtained illegally, and that's the fruit of the poisonous tree, so a derivative illegal problem. But I would say, I don't know, probably 80–90% of your cases, the defendant or the defense attorney will make this claim. What the judge will do in that case is ask the parties to submit papers briefing the issue. And because usually our agents have done nothing wrong, we win most of these quite easily. If it's not obvious to the judge what has happened, the judge will hold an evidentiary hearing after we've submitted our papers. And at this hearing, the government can call witnesses, and the defense can question those witnesses and also call its own witnesses to get to the bottom of the facts, what happened. And the judge will make a decision about whether to admit the evidence or suppress the evidence. Now, the analysis that the judge goes through is, first of all, was the conduct legal? Was the search legal, or was that the tree that bore the fruit, was the tree legal? Usually, that is the main decision to be made. And for instance, an issue might be, as Ovi discussed earlier, in our search warrant affidavits, we have to be very clear about what we are searching for and where we are going to search to find it. And if we say we're going to search here, we want to go into this house to get the computer, but then we actually find a piece of evidence that is back in the closet, and we said exactly what we were looking for, and it was one particular computer, well then probably our search warrant would not cover the little piece of evidence we found in the bedroom closet. So we have to write our search warrants in a way, as Kun Ovi was saying, in a way that will give us justification to search all of the areas where we might find evidence that will be useful to us, digital or otherwise. That's usually what the court is deciding in evaluating the legality of a search. If there's an allegation that there was some poisonous tree that led to the fruit that was in the affidavit, that would be analyzed the same way. However, if that analysis is straightforward, sometimes we get to another secondary analysis. Let's say that the court decides that what the agent did was illegal. They took something that was not authorized, or they searched somewhere they should not have been searching. In that case, the evidence is not necessarily excluded. The judge can look at what's called the good faith exception. There may have been a reason that the agent could reasonably have believed that he or she had the authority to seize that evidence. And if it was a reasonable mistake, but not a reckless mistake, then the judge can say the agent was acting with good faith, and I'm not going to exclude the evidence. Finally, and Ovi talked about this, one issue that causes problems for prosecutors is an agent may have obtained evidence from somebody working for one of the internet companies or telecom companies in the manner that Ovi described. And it may be actually quite innocent. The person may have said, I have some evidence that you may be interested in. And then the law enforcement agent may have said, oh, well, that's not very clear to me. I don't know, could you also find out a little bit more? And the person may try and find out more. Well, at that time, as Ovi said, that person becomes an agent of law enforcement for the purposes of the law. That's not to say that they would be punished as a law enforcement agent. It's just to say that the evidence that they acquire and hand to our agents is evaluated as if they were law enforcement agents. They had to have the proper authority to seize that evidence. That is probably the area where we have the most trouble. But I don't want to overstate this. Although we have challenges of fruit of the poisonous tree or illegally obtained evidence in the vast majority of our criminal prosecutions, very few of those challenges succeed. Our agents, because they've learned over time to be very careful and strict with the law, our agents are very good at minimizing these problems, and I can only recall a handful of occasions where I've had concerns that we might lose a suppression hearing, which is what we call these hearings. But it's very, very rare that we have a real problem presented.